Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play. I'm Mike Dennis.
And I'm Ben Hirsh.
And we're going to be looking at First Martians. So First Martians is a game in which we are playing astronauts being sent into space by MCI, which is the Mars Colonization and Exploration Initiative. And we've come to Mars to sort of embed in the first colony here, and all of the facilities have already been set up, so we're just here to sort of make them habitable and, basically begin the terraforming process. The game has a whole bunch of different scenarios and campaigns in which we sort of enact different parts of doing this, and we're going to go through some of the sort of the fundamentals of how the game plays and what you'll be doing sort of at the very basic level of any of these given scenarios.
So here we have the board layout for a sort of generic game. The game is scenario based. There's a few standalone scenarios and a campaign mode. And for now, it also uses an app. And the app will tell you how to set up the game specific to the scenario you're playing. And briefly, I'll just run through the rounds and all the different phases in each round. The game is round based, so depending on the scenario, you'll have a number of rounds to complete whatever objectives are on your scenario sheet. So let's jump into the round order. So here we have the round order and all the different phases for the round. We have event phase, morale, production, actions, malfunction, and cleanup. The events phase is sort of a random event card that comes out at the beginning of the game, but it will, at the beginning of the round, it'll be managed by the app on the phone or whatever device you're using. The next phase is the morale phase. I'll quickly show you how this works. So this is the morale section of the board. You're going to have various cubes on these spaces here to denote how your morale of your colony is doing and how much stress all the astronauts have between them. Various things will make the morale go up and down. At the beginning of whoever is the first player at this point in the phase will either gain this resource, I don't know what they're called, morale points? Morale tokens, which let them trigger special abilities. If we're in the negative, they'll be losing them. And if they don't have any to lose, they'll actually be taking wounds, which is really bad. The stress track goes up 1 per astronaut every morale phase, every production phase. And when this hits the end, everyone takes a wound, and this resets back down to 0 again. Everyone takes a wound and the morale track goes down, and then this goes back to 0 again. The production phase is where you have to manage your power and your oxygen. Solar panels produce power. These solar panels are producing 5 power. If they take any sort of game effects to damage them, they'll produce less power and become less efficient. The oxygen supply, or oxygenators, produce oxygen. They're currently starting with 4, and we've got 2 of each. So at the moment we have 8 oxygen and 10 energy in process. At this point in the phase, in the production phase, you have to work out how many of your facilities are using oxygen and power. So here, for example, this facility here, because it has an power icon, so the oxygenators, they require energy to run. If you have more energy than required, this track at the top here will get increased, and this is sort of your surplus energy, and you've got a marker for energy, food, and oxygen. If you don't have enough energy or oxygen to power certain facilities, you don't just lose from here, you actually have to shut them down using these shutdown tokens, and they have various in-game effects such as increasing stress. So food works a little bit differently. Here we have the farm, and for every greenhouse you have in place, you can basically grow seeds. For every greenhouse you have, you can start planting seeds in order to get plants. So plants start off down here once you plant a seed, and every production phase this will tick up slowly, and then once it hits the top, you can then have a fully grown plant. Each plant will count as 1 food every round that the astronauts can eat. If you don't have enough plants for the astronauts to eat, you can use this surplus marker here to deduct food and for it to be consumed by your astronauts.
In the game, we've got these things called pawns, and these are little colored discs like this. And what your pawns represent is actually time. Time is crucial to surviving on Mars because we don't have time to do everything that we want. In a 4-player game, we're just going to have the time of our astronauts, which are going to be represented by these 2 colored discs that are assigned to each of our player boards. There's green ones, pink ones, black ones, and yellow ones. There's also other discs here like this, which are designed to what are called AOMs, which are automated operating machines. And these guys come in and help us out when there's fewer than 4 players. These discs represent what we can do every turn, and we'll be assigning them to the actions we think are most important. This is the living block. In the living block, our astronauts will rest, heal, and control different different functions within the hub, which is where we're living. You've got a quiet place to rest, which allows you to regenerate your morale tokens. You've got your crew quarters, where you can go to unwind, which is represented by this symbol here. And here you can increase morality or reduce stress. Both of these actions are actually a single pawn action, which means we'll be spending 1 of our time tokens to do it. If you put down 2 tokens next to each other, then you'll take that action twice. So here we're going for a very long sleep. Here we've got the med lab, where we go to heal. The med lab is another action that requires just 1 pawn. However, if you want to take this action, you will need to also have the pawn of the medic here. And that will allow you to heal 1 health or heal 1 condition. However, in a game with 3 players or less, you automatically start with the auto scanner upgrade, which means that no medic is actually required to take this action. Finally, we've got the control center here. This is another single pawn action, and what this allows us to do is reduce the malfunctions track, which are these things on the side of the board, and we'll talk about those when we get to the malfunctions phase. These 4 boards represent the 4 basic actions that inform all of the actions you'll be doing in First Martians. What is key to these boards are 2 elements: the color of the banner at the top, as well as the symbol next to it. Later on, you'll discover more actions you can do that reference this symbol. And whenever you see that symbol, you'll know that it's an explore action tied to the garage hall. In the garage hall, we can put down 1 pawn or 2 pawns. I'm like too close to the edge of the camera.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Unlike earlier in the rest hall, when the pawns were next to each other, the pawns are now on top of each other. And this means that our astronaut is sort of expending a large amount of effort to complete this action. And in doing so, will ensure that it is automatically successful. When 1 pawn is down like this, that means that it's not automatically successful, and our astronaut will have to roll these action die. Action dice.
Yeah.
So this is the probe bay, and this is the gray gather action. And here we've got the lab with the research action, and finally the working bay with the build action. I took a wound. Again, the basic function of these actions are exploring Mars, gathering samples from Mars, researching the samples you got from Mars, and planting seeds in the farm, and repairing and upgrading the hub area. Further actions associated with these 4 types will be unlocked based on the unique scenario you are doing, and these will always have a gather, research, build, or explore type associated with them. This is important because they will tell you which of these dice to roll if you need to roll dice, if you're not committing enough time to it, and also which of these AOMs you can assign to doing the tasks. As you can see here, all of the AOMs have a color associated with them.
In this example, the robotic manipulator is helping this player to perform a gather action.
However, the robotic manipulator can also do an action without the help of the player. Rise of the Machines. A 5th type of action you might have to deal with is an event action. The event actions are tracked here on the top of the board in the current and past event action slots. You can assign your pawns to these actions in order to complete them, but the events themselves will come up in the app, so you won't know what's going to happen or what you need to do to fulfill them until you find that section in the app. It's worth noting that in addition to gathering, the robotic manipulator or any other AOM can be assigned to these action spaces. As far as I'm aware, these are the only action spaces that can have the AOMs assigned to them beyond their specific actions. This section of the board here represents Mars, and Mars is obviously divided up into rings, which are numbered 1 to 3, and also have directions, for example, south. So this is R1 south, or R1S, which means ring 1 south. This is R2S, ring 2 south. As you can see, these have little pawny mans in the middle. And what that means is that as you get further out from the hub here in the center, you're going to have to expend more pawns, which represent more time and effort, traveling. Obviously, we only have 2 pawns per astronaut, and even with our AOM helping us... Oh, where's our Explore AOM? Even with our AOM helping us here, we've only got 4, which means we can only get as far as the outside, and even then we'll still have to take a die roll because we've only actually got 1 pawn there once we get there. These 3 were spent traveling. Fortunately, we've got help. This guy is Froggy, and Froggy aids in the exploration action. Froggy can be assigned to any exploration action and adds 2 pawns to that action. So now we've got 3 pawns in that stack. Or more. We've also got Scorpio. Scorpio is typically associated with the gather action. Because we're going to talk about gathering in a minute, we will deal with Scorpio more then, but he can be used to explore, and he adds 1 pawn to the explore action. When you explore a tile, or what's called a region of interest, you find the appropriate ring, and then you reveal it. There we go. We've now explored R1S. When you flip it over, you assign elements to it based on what's up on the side there. These are called samples and can be collected and researched. In a campaign mode, researching these will unlock skills, but in a standalone mission you've already got all your skills, so researching them must be part of the unique scenario. Scorpio is good for picking these up. He can add 1 pawn to any gather action. When we do a gather action, we work out how long it takes to travel there, which is, in this case, just 1, because we've got 1 little arrow here. Sometimes you might have to add additional time if you're traveling further from the hub, or if there's a penalty up here. This penalty actually means that you cannot explore south out of this side of the tile. This tile means that if you enter this tile, you will take a wound. Also, there's more samples there. This tile is a volcano, and it decreases morale, I guess because it's frightening. So in order to travel to this region of interest, in order to make a gather action, we would come out of the hub, we'd go 1, 2 spaces, which takes 2 pawns extra. So we've got 1 free from our Scorpio here. We'd have to find 2 additional pawns to take this action. Moving here would also activate the blue sections on both of these tiles, which means you would suffer a wound, and additionally morale would go down by 1. Some regions have this symbol on them here, which looks like a Google pin, and this actually refers to a place of interest. A place of interest tile is immediately revealed when that section of the planet is revealed, and they have different things on them. Some of them, such as these ones, have heal a condition or gain a sample. Others have these funky symbols which have unique abilities based on the unique scenario you're doing. Like these ones here. Finally, if you arrive at your explore area, or when doing any action, and you have arrived and you're ready to take your action, but you don't have enough pawns left, you've only got 1, so you can't guarantee success. You roll the dice. So let's take a look at the dice that come with the actions. You've got this one here, which is a success die. The success die has this face, which means success, and also this face, which means failure. If you do fail, however, you'll note that you do get 2 morale tokens. This die is the wound die, and when you roll this die, if you roll that symbol, you take a wound. Other sides represent safety. So when you roll this die, you have to take an adventure. And it's worth noting when you roll these 3 dice, you can actually choose the order in which the dice are activated. So when you roll the adventure symbol, you just go to the app, which has a section here on the side, and you find the corresponding color, and you just press it, and then you select the astronaut who took the action, and they have an adventure, which is almost always bad and stressful. I mean, really, it should be called like an incident or an event or something.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly do an explanation of the malfunction phase. In the malfunction phase, it represents stuff sort of going wrong, hazards, and deterioration of equipment.
I'm sorry, Hal, I cannot do that.
So, to start off, you're going to assemble your dice pool. To assemble your initial dice pool, you check out these 3 block cubes in the malfunction box. If any of these are red, like this one, that means you're going to be rolling the orange die in this phase. There's 1 die for each color, and each color matches one sort of row of the blocks representing the facilities inside your hub. So,
each die matches a block in the hub. Matches a deck that's associated with the block in the hub.
Yeah. Each die matches a deck that corresponds to a block in the hub, and there's 3 blocks and 3 dice. So in this example, we're going to be rolling 1 orange die and none of the other dice so far because we don't have any down here. We also take a look at the scenario sheet, if you look at the top here, for the in the soul counter, and at certain points it may tell you to start rolling other dice. So here, from round 4 onwards, we're going to start rolling orange die as well, because stuff's generally going wrong later on in the end of the game, and it makes it far more intense. In this case, we're already rolling the orange die, so we just roll the 1 die. So when we roll the orange die, it's got numbers 1 to 3 on it. We roll it, and we check the number, and then we increase this malfunction track up by 3. We then have a look at any damaged modules corresponding to this symbol here. So if this was slightly damaged and had a red cube in there, that would mean we increase the malfunction track by an additional 1 for every one of these symbols with a red cube in this block.
You'll notice the symbol here matches the symbol on the top of the trackers.
Yeah, it's handy iconography. Whenever this hits 5, and if it ever exceeds 5, doesn't matter, it resets back to 0 and you draw the top card from the malfunction deck. This will have various problems, like here, oh, what's that buzz? Increase stress by 3. Or another one might be adjusting air composition. Here the med lab, which is this guy over here, it's now going to have its oxygen component broken, which means we would replace that green with a red marker there. Additionally, when this fills up and resets back to 0, another game effect happens with the malfunction blocks. So, in our example, when the living block malfunction track filled up and we drew a card, we then update this malfunction box for the next time we do a malfunction phase. If the living block goes all the way up to 5 and goes to 0, it means the system block now becomes malfunctioning. If the system block ever goes up to 5 and draws a card, then the same thing happens but down to the working block, and we replace that. And once this is all red, nothing will change until one of them goes back to green. So the one below it will always affect, each block will affect the block above it. And once you get to system block, it will loop back around down to working block.
This can't be repaired in a standalone mission and can only be repaired between missions in the campaign. At the end of every round, there is a cleanup step. You always have to clean up your mess in board gaming. The cleanup step just involves moving things around and putting things away. We'll let you discover that yourself when you're playing. So that's pretty much an introduction to how First Martian works. There's a few things we didn't mention, like astronauts and how they die. And also these research tracks down here. So if you want a more full explanation of how the game works, you're always welcome to join us as we play through a mission. Or you can go check out Rodney Smith's How to Play on his channel, Watch It Played, which he does a bit more of an in-depth look at the game.
It's about an hour long, but it's very concise.
Yeah, it'll definitely get you ready to go for your first mission into Mars. Mission to Mars. Cool. So we've pretty much outlined what we're going to be doing now, and we'll be back tomorrow when we're going to be playing this one, Malnourished Plants. I mean, of all the missions, we thought this one looked like the most exciting.
Yeah. And the most interesting name.
As aspiring horticulturalists, this was a theme that really appealed to us. So please come back tomorrow and join us for Malnourished Plants. Subscribe to the channel if you're excited to see it, and leave a comment below to let us know if you've got the game and what you think of it, or just what's going on with you.
And check out our Facebook page.
Oh yeah, there's that. Check out the Facebook page
for more updates and fun stuff.
Follow us on Twitter. Sometimes I tweet things into the ether where they vanish if you don't read them. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye.